All right, so today we're going to be looking into something pretty wild. We're talking UAPs, but not just like, the usual lights in the sky stuff.
Yeah.
This is about how UAPs could be messing with radar signals.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they might be doing it is like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that we're talking about hard data, not just anecdotal sightings.
Right.
So this deep dive is based on a recent research article from the Open Journal of Applied Sciences.
Oh, very cool.
And it gets into some pretty fascinating anomalies.
Okay, so the paper is called Unraveling Mystique. Long delay echoes. Anomalous propagation of radar signals under the influence of unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
That's a catchy title.
Yeah.
But let's break it down. What exactly are these long delay echoes and why are they so strange?
So imagine you're using radar, right? Like the kind they use on ships or at airports.
Uh-huh.
You send out a signal and it bounces back.
Right.
And that tells you the location of an object. But with long delay echoes, those signals come back way later than they should.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes seconds or even minutes
Really?
after the initial pulse.
That's crazy.
It's like the signal went on a little detour through a wormhole or something.
So it's not just like a little glitch, it's like a massive delay.
That really shouldn't be happening.
Exactly. And it gets even weirder.
Oh, no.
They're also seeing what they're calling unusual field echoes.
Okay.
And this is where the radar signal seems to be distorted, bent, or even multiplied.
Oh, wow.
It's like the radar is seeing double or triple.
That's wild.
And these aren't like your typical radar hiccups.
Yeah.
This is pointing to something truly bizarre.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued.
Yeah.
But before we go full X-Files here,
Sure.
tell me about the research itself.
Okay.
Who are these scientists and how did they study these radar anomalies?
This research team was serious about their work.
Okay.
They set up a mobile lab. They were calling it Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler along the coast of Long Island, a spot known for UAP sightings.
Oh, interesting.
And they weren't messing around with like amateur equipment or anything.
So what kind of tech were they using?
Right.
Give me the details.
But they had a whole arsenal of radar systems.
Okay.
They used X-band marine radar, which is pretty standard for ships.
Okay.
But they also had millimeter wave radar,
Okay.
which is more advanced and operates at a much higher frequency.
I see.
This allowed them to observe these anomalies with incredible detail.
That makes sense. And I bet using different types of radar is key here,
Mm-hmm.
because different wavelengths would interact with these phenomena in different ways, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's like having multiple sets of eyes,
Yeah.
each sensitive to different aspects of the anomaly.
Yeah.
And they even incorporated LIDAR,
Oh, wow.
which uses lasers instead of radio waves
Okay.
to further enhance their observations.
Gotcha.
So this multifaceted approach really sets their research apart.
Okay, so we've got the setting and the high-tech equipment.
Yeah.
What were they actually seeing out there?
Well, they observed some truly baffling anomalous propagation patterns,
Okay.
or AP.
Right.
Think of it like this. Normally, radar signals travel in a predictable way, like a straight line.
Right?
But with AP, those signals get distorted,
Uh-huh.
and it creates these unusual streaks and bends.
Wow.
And even echoes that resemble like old-school navigation beacons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like the signal is being bounced around or manipulated by something we can't see.
So you've got these strange echoes and the distorted signals.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a UAP rave is going on out there.
Yeah, kinda.
But this is where I need you to connect the dots for me.
Okay.
How do we go from these weird radar readings to the idea that UAPs are involved?
Okay, well that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Remember those long delay echoes we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, they've actually been a mystery for almost a century.
Really?
The first recorded instances go back to the 1920s.
Wow. So this isn't a new phenomenon.
Not at all.
Yeah.
There have been some traditional explanations put forward, like unusual atmospheric conditions
Okay.
or ionization ducts, but none of them fully explain the extreme delays and patterns observed by the Nightcrawler team.
Okay.
And what's really intriguing is that they found a direct correlation between these LDEs
Oh.
and the presence of unidentified objects.
Hold on. Are you saying they actually saw something in the sky
Yeah.
while these radar anomalies were happening?
And you bet they did. One particularly compelling case happened on September 19th, 2023.
Okay.
The team was monitoring a fishing boat with their millimeter wave radar
Okay.
when suddenly an unidentified object appeared over the horizon.
Oh, wow.
And at the exact same time, the radar signals went absolutely haywire.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about.
Right.
This isn't just some abstract radar blip.
Exactly.
There's an actual visual sighting
Yeah.
linked to the anomaly.
Yeah.
tell me more about this fishing boat incident.
Okay.
What exactly did they see?
So picture this.
Okay.
A fishing boat out on the water.
Uh-huh.
The researchers are tracking it with their radar.
Right.
And suddenly, this luminous sphere of red and blue light pops up over the horizon.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, the radar starts losing track of the boat's speed echoes are delayed.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole system is being disrupted.
Wow. Talk about a close encounter.
Right.
So they saw this object with their own eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, their sophisticated radar systems were going crazy.
Yeah.
That seems like pretty strong evidence of a connection, right?
It's certainly suggestive.
Right.
And it wasn't just the millimeter wave radar either. Their X-band radar, which operates at a different wavelength,
Right.
also picked up some strange echo patterns that seemed to be linked to the object's movements.
Oh, well.
It's like whatever this object was, it was affecting both radar systems
Yeah.
in different ways.
All right, now things are getting really interesting.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, what could possibly explain this? Are we saying that these UAPs are somehow messing with the radar waves themselves?
Well,
And if so, how?
that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How are these UAPs interacting with our technology?
Yeah.
One possibility that the researchers are exploring is that these objects
Okay.
might be generating incredibly strong gravitational fields,
Okay.
strong enough to actually warp the fabric of space-time.
Hold on, are we talking about gravitational lensing here?
Yeah.
Like what astronomers use to study distant galaxies?
Exactly.
Isn't that something that happens on like a massive cosmic scale?
You're exactly right. Gravitational lensing is usually associated with, like, incredibly massive objects, black holes or entire galaxies.
Yeah.
But the researchers are suggesting that if these UAPs are capable of generating or manipulating gravity
Okay.
in ways we don't yet understand, they might be able to create localized gravitational lensing effects,
I see.
even on a much smaller scale.
Okay, I'm gonna need a little bit of a breakdown here. I get the basic concept of like massive objects warping space-time, but how would that actually affect radar signals?
Okay, so imagine space-time like a trampoline,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And a UAP is like a bowling ball placed on it.
Okay.
The bowling ball creates a dip in the trampoline, warping the fabric around it.
Right.
Now imagine rolling marbles across the trampoline.
Okay.
Those marbles would curve around the bowling ball, right?
Right, so the marbles are like the radar waves.
Exactly.
And the bowling ball is the UAP distorting their path.
Precisely. And that's what gravitational lensing is all about.
Hmm.
It's not just light that gets bent either.
Oh, wow.
Any electromagnetic wave, including radar signals, would follow that curved path around a strong gravitational field.
So the radar waves are taking a detour, so to speak, around the UAP.
Mhm.
And that could explain the delays, right?
Exactly. And it's not just the delays either. Gravitational lensing can also magnify signals, create multiple images, and even distort the shapes of those images.
Okay.
You know those weird wedge-shaped ectos?
Yeah.
And the echoes that resemble those old-school navigation beacons
Right.
that the researchers were observing,
Yeah.
those could be signs of gravitational lensing at play.
Okay, now that's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So we usually think of gravity as this like constant force, right?
Right.
But are you saying that these UAPs might be manipulating it like a tool?
It's a radical concept,
Yeah.
but the researchers point to some compelling evidence. They observed redshift and blue shift
Oh, okay.
in some UAP footage.
Okay, now redshift and blue shift, those are the things astronomers use to figure out if a star is moving towards us or away from us, right?
Exactly. It's all about how the wavelength of light changes based on the movement of the source.
Right.
And the researchers are suggesting that similar shifts observed around UAPs could be caused by their intense gravitational fields,
Gotcha.
not just their movement.
That's wild. It's like those UAPs are creating their own little pockets of warped reality.
Yeah.
I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
Are there any other explanations for these radar anomalies that don't involve, like, bending space-time? Could it be something more mundane, like, I don't know, atmospheric disturbances or equipment malfunctions?
Well, the researchers were very thorough in their analysis,
Okay.
and they considered a wide range of potential explanations, including the ones that you mentioned.
Okay.
They looked at atmospheric conditions,
Yeah.
radar interference patterns, equipment limitations, you name it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they found that none of those conventional explanations could fully account for the specific patterns and anomalies that they were observing.
So we're left with this mind-boggling possibility that UAPs are manipulating gravity
Yeah.
to mess with our radar.
It's a pretty big pill to swallow.
I have to admit, that's a pretty big pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But let's say for argument's sake that this is really happening.
Yeah.
What are the implications? Like, if
yeah.
they can do this to radar, what else could they be affecting?
That's a question that keeps a lot of people up at night.
Yeah.
The research paper we're discussing focuses primarily on the radar anomalies themselves. But the implications are huge. If these objects are interacting with gravity in ways we don't understand, it challenges our fundamental understanding of physics
Yeah.
and opens up a whole new realm of possibilities
Right.
and potential dangers.
Okay, so let's talk about the dangers. You mentioned earlier that this could be a safety risk for ships
Right.
that are relying on radar.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Sure.
How exactly would this UAP-induced radar weirdness affect navigation?
Okay, so imagine a large cargo ship
Okay.
navigating a busy shipping lane,
Uh-huh.
relying heavily on its radar system to avoid collisions.
Right.
Suddenly, due to a nearby UAP manipulating gravity,
Okay.
their radar starts giving false readings.
Oh, no.
The ship could misjudge the distance to other vessels,
Right.
leading to confusion, miscalculations,
Yeah.
and potentially a catastrophic accident.
Yikes. That's a chilling scenario. It's like a technological blind spot
Exactly.
where our most trusted systems suddenly become unreliable.
Exactly. And it's not just about ships either.
Right.
Think about air traffic control,
Oh, yeah.
weather forecasting.
Yeah.
Any system that relies on radar could potentially be affected by these anomalies.
Wow.
It really underscores the need to understand what's going on here.
It's like we're suddenly realizing that our technological infrastructure might be more vulnerable than we thought.
Right.
But beyond the safety concerns you mentioned earlier, that this research has implications for our understanding of physics.
Mm-hmm.
Can you unpack that a bit more?
Sure.
What are the scientific ramifications of UAPs potentially manipulating gravity?
So if these UAPs are capable of generating or controlling gravitational fields, it would mean that our current understanding of physics is incomplete.
Right.
It would suggest that there are forces at play that we haven't even begun to comprehend.
Yeah.
Think about it. We've spent centuries building our understanding of gravity.
Right.
And suddenly we're faced with evidence suggesting that it can be manipulated, distorted, even weaponized.
It's like finding out that the laws of gravity are more like guidelines. And these UAPs know how to bend those guidelines to their will.
Yeah.
That's a pretty unsettling thought.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's also incredibly exciting, isn't it?
It is.
Like, it opens up this whole new realm of scientific exploration.
It's both exciting and terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like we're on the verge of a new scientific revolution.
Wow.
One that could completely change our understanding of the universe and our place in it.
Speaking of revolutions, this research itself is kind of a revolution in how we approach the UAP phenomenon, isn't it? Like, for decades, this topic was considered taboo in mainstream science.
Right.
But now we have peer-reviewed research being published in reputable journals.
Right.
What do you think has shifted in the scientific community?
I think there's a growing realization that this is a phenomenon worthy of serious scientific inquiry.
Yeah.
The evidence is mounting.
Right.
From those declassified military reports to the increasing number of credible eyewitness accounts.
Yeah.
And now this groundbreaking research into radar anomalies.
Right.
It's becoming harder and harder to dismiss this as just a bunch of hoaxes and misidentification.
It's like the weight of evidence is finally tipping the scales.
Exactly.
And forcing the scientific community to take notice.
Exactly. And the more we look into it, the more complex and fascinating it becomes.
Right.
We're starting to realize that this is not just about identifying lights in the sky.
Right.
It's about understanding a phenomenon that could have profound implications for our technology, our safety, and our understanding of the universe itself.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of reality and discovering something truly extraordinary.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, what about the skeptics?
Right.
Are there still scientists out there who dismiss this entire field of research?
There are always going to be skeptics.
Right.
And that's a healthy part of the scientific process.
Yeah.
But I think even the most hardened skeptics are having a hard time ignoring the evidence that's emerging.
Right.
The data is there,
Yeah.
and it's demanding an explanation.
It's like the universe is sending us a message, and we're finally starting to pay attention. This research into radar anomalies is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
I have a feeling we're only just beginning to scratch the surface
Like I said.
of what's really going on here. But for now, let's take a quick break
Right.
and come back to delve even deeper into the mysteries of UAPs and their potential impact on our world. Welcome back. So before we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you, were there any other interesting cases the researchers uncovered? Anything that really stood out in their findings?
Yeah, actually, there's one that really caught my eye. And it involves another piece of tech, LIDAR. On November 14th, 2023, again at Robert Moses State Park, the team observed something really peculiar. Their LIDAR system, which uses lasers to map the surrounding environment, started picking up readings that suggested that the laser beam itself was being distorted, almost like it was being bent or scattered by something invisible.
Wait, so it's not just radar that's being affected, now we've got lasers acting weird too?
It certainly adds another layer to the puzzle.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more intriguing is that these LIDAR anomalies happened at the same time as those unusual radar echoes.
So it wasn't just one system glitching out. They had multiple independent systems showing strange readings all at the same time.
Exactly. It's one of the key strengths of this research, actually.
Yeah.
They use this multifaceted approach, incorporating all these different types of sensors to try to get a more complete picture of these anomalies. It wasn't just a blip on a single radar screen.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
They were seeing these consistent patterns across multiple systems.
You know, it's funny, we're talking about all this high-tech equipment and scientific analysis, but for a long time, the whole topic of UAPs was like relegated to the fringes, right?
Yeah.
Dismissed as the stuff of conspiracy theories. What do you think has changed? Like, why are we finally starting to see serious scientific research into this phenomenon?
Well, I think there's a few factors at play here. For one thing, there's just more data available now than ever before, right? We have those declassified military reports, the videos released by the Navy pilots, and a growing number of credible eyewitness accounts from all over the world. It's becoming harder and harder to just ignore the sheer volume of evidence.
Right. Those Navy pilot videos really captured the public imagination. It wasn't just grainy footage anymore. It was trained observers using sophisticated equipment, describing encounters that defied conventional explanation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, beyond the anecdotal evidence, we're now able to actually study these phenomena with a level of scientific rigor that just wasn't possible before. We have these advanced sensors, we've got better data analysis tools, and there's a growing number of scientists who are willing to take this topic seriously.
And it's not just a handful of researchers working in isolation anymore either. This paper we've been discussing was published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, right? That means it went through a whole process. It was vetted by other experts in the field before being accepted for publication.
That's right. This research has gone through the same rigorous scrutiny as any other scientific study. It's not just speculation or conjecture. It's based on solid data and analysis.
So we're really seeing a shift in the scientific landscape, a growing acceptance that UAPs are a legitimate phenomenon worthy of investigation.
What do you think the future holds for this field of research?
I think we're just at the beginning of a very exciting journey. With all the advancements in technology, we're seeing artificial intelligence, sensor technology, data analysis. We're going to be able to collect and analyze even more data with even greater precision. It's only a matter of time before we start unlocking some of these mysteries surrounding UAPs.
That's a pretty optimistic outlook, and honestly, it's kind of contagious. It's easy to get caught up in the fear and uncertainty surrounding this whole topic. But you're right, there's also the sense of wonder and excitement, like we're on the verge of something truly groundbreaking.
I think that sense of wonder is essential. We need to approach this with a balance of healthy skepticism and open-mindedness, a willingness to challenge our assumptions and embrace the unknown. Well said. It's like we're standing at the edge of this vast, uncharted territory, and who knows what incredible discoveries await us. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener, and I want to thank you for sharing your expertise with us. And to our listeners out there, keep your minds open, keep your curiosity alive, and keep looking up at the stars. You never know what you might find out.